Young world. So I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about buying property, buy real estate and stuff like that. Many of you might not know I'm a licensed realtor here in the state of Pennsylvania. Been licensed since 2017. Haven't been doing much with real estate the past like year and a half. But all the hype right now, real estate, buy real estate. You gotta understand now is not a time to buy real estate unless you can buy it cash or if you get a deal on the piece of property before it hits the market. You don't buy a house right now because houses are so overpriced. You'll never have equity in this house. If you buy a house right now, so you buy a house in a regular market, you pay $100,000 for it. It gets appraised, it's worth about 150. You know what I'm saying? This is in a regular market, I'm telling you. So at that point, you buy a house. So then you have about $50,000 in equity. You know what I mean? $50,000 in equity. You can do stuff with that equity. You can get loans on your equity. The equity raises the value of your property. Like I said, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a licensed realtor, so I kind of know what I'm talking about a little bit. But in this market here, that same house you paid $100,000 for, right now you're going to pay $200,000 for it. With the inflated system built around the housing market. So even if right now you buy the same house, and let's say it appraises for more than 200,000, which to get a loan from a bank is going to have to appraise for more than what you're trying to borrow, at least that value or more. So say that happens right now, and say a month from now the housing market crashes totally, which it will crash any day now. You know what I'm saying? It's been going on. When I got my real estate license in 2017, we were already over the mark of where the market should have crashed then. So this market we're in right now is an extremely inflated, bubbleistic, um, false reality of a market. We're just really living in a false reality of a market right now. The cycle is about every 12 years where crashes, comes back, crashes, comes back. So just think right now, if you bought that same house like I was telling you for 100,000 in a good market, now you pay 200,000 for it, and let's say it appraised with equity in it, some false inflated equity. Once the market crashes and goes back to what it's really supposed to be, now that house you bought for $200,000 is now worth half the price. So now you got no equity. Now you're in the arrears on what the house is projected to be valued at and what you actually paid for it. So now you're going to have problems with the bank, with your lender. They might want you to sell this house for what you can get back for it, just to satisfy a portion of the loan, and you're going to have to still pay this loan out. You're going to pay on the loan for a house you don't even own no more. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are in trouble right now. The house next door to my house sold for 2.5 times what I bought my house for. I got my house for a price. The house next door to mine, which is identical, but mine is worth more technically because I'm on the corner. The first house on the street has sold for 2.5 times the amount of what I paid for and what I know it's worth. Now these people that just bought this house, they're renting it out. And I think he may have bought it in cash. I'm not totally sure, but I'm assuming he did because he's getting $2,000 rent, $2,100 rent for this house. So in order for him to do that, if he financed $200,000, that means he'd be sitting there making a $2,000 a month mortgage payment. So that wouldn't make sense. So I'm thinking this guy bought this house. Crashes, which it will anytime. Pay that kind of money for a house is going to be in major trouble. Believe what I'm telling you right now. All the real estate hype been going on for a while. Everybody's all trying to get into real estate. Now is not the time to do that. If you're trying to buy a house, what I would tell you, if you're trying to buy a house, I'm a licensed realtor. You information on buying a house right now. If you're in a position to buy a house, your credit's right, you can get a loan from a bank, a lender. What I would do is not buy the house. I would keep building your credit up, keep saving money up for when the market crashes, then buy a house. But once the market crashes, the same house you're going to buy right now for say 200,000, you'll be able to get for half the price once the market crashes. You don't want to be on the opposite end of buying this house before the market crashes, because you're going to be the one getting stuck. If you see the market right now, there's people that are actually, to buy a house right now where I'm at in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, the Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton area, to put in the bid for a house, you got to literally put in the bid. You have to put on your offer letter that you're willing to not do any inspections of the house. You're willing to let the people who own the house have as much as up to 6 months to a year to vacate the house. All these special requirements you got to put in just to be recognized, on top of offering 20, 30, or 40,000 over the inflated 20, 30, 40, $50,000 price that's already on this house. You got to offer 20, 30, or 40,000 more than what is already inflated at. So think about how bad a position you're going to be in if you get this house. And not to mention, because you gotta bid over that much, and that don't mean you will get it for that much if you get accepted. Because I mean, if you get accepted, you will. But once you put a bidding on the house, you're now bidding with 1,000 other people trying to buy this same house. The reason why that's going on right now is because lenders, when you go try to get a pre-approval letter from a lender, whether it's a bank, private lender, or whatever, all you got to do nowadays is you contact a lender. All you're going to do is verify your income, run your credit, your work history. For most lenders right now, I mean, it's going back up now, starting to change, the interest rates going back up. But for most lenders over the past 2 years, like 3 years really, all they need to verify is your credit score, your income, and your work history, and they will send you a pre-approval letter to buy a house. And when you go put an offer on the house, you need to have a pre-approval letter. That's one thing you have to have. Otherwise, you don't even have, you can't put an offer in without a pre-approval letter, unless you're offering cash. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a pre-approval letter from a lender that's certifying the fact that they're going to lend you this money upon you buying this house. But this doesn't mean you went through underwriting yet, because there's a second part of being pre-approved from a lender. This is what I was going to get at, underwriting. But let's go back to what I was saying. In order to put an offer in, you contact the lender. All they're going to do is verify your income, run your credit, and your work history. So that will give them the authority within the matter of a half hour to an hour to send you a pre-approval letter through email that you can print out. And now you're in the market of being able to go out and look for a house because you got this pre-approval letter. So keep in mind, this pre-approval letter does not mean that your offer is definitely going to go through. Because what the pre-approval letter doesn't do is screen through all your information, your background information. Some lenders will, when underwriting comes in, underwriting is the part of the loan that comes at the very end, not really the very end, but later on down the line after you've been pre-approved. Like I said, it's called pre-approved. Doesn't mean approved, it's called pre-approved. So underwriting comes in after that process and looks at your information with a magnifying glass, and this is where a lot of deals fall off and go wrong at. Yeah, hit that like button, because I'm giving y'all real information I'm a licensed realtor, like I told y'all. This is real information. This is not no gossip. I'm telling you some stuff that can really help them. So when underwriting comes in, one time I had a deal that fell through. Actually was a friend of mine. We put the offer in on the house. Offer got accepted. Got the pre-approval. This through Wells Fargo Bank. I wouldn't suggest anybody go through Wells Fargo Bank to get a loan. I'll guarantee you that right now. Don't ever go through Wells Fargo Bank. I had personal dealings with Wells Fargo Bank 2 times where it ended bad. So don't ever go through Wells Fargo. Their underwriting process is a monster. So my friend has a business, a photo business. This is a legit dude, been keeping his books, his records, all this for years, all this stuff. He had one receipt, he had one deposit on his bank account for like $2,000, you know what I'm saying, that he didn't have a receipt for from doing photo business. He has, like I said, a photography business. And this is after we put the bid, put up good offer money, which is not, it's a down payment, but you can get it back depending on how you negotiate it. This just secures the fact that you're really in the game. You want to offer $1,000 good earnest money is called, or 1 or 2%. Really, it's like 10%, but a certain amount of percent of what the actual house costs. So this is after you put earnest money deposit up. It's called paid for an inspection. People to come out and inspect the house. got all his hopes and dreams up to moving his house, all this stuff, making plans, measurements, emailing back and forth. And then underwriting comes in from Wells Fargo and says, we can't track this $2,000 deposit that's in his bank, so we got to dead the loan. So the loan was dead after that. I'm just giving you an example of how underwriting works and stuff like that. Yeah, he could have went to a different lender and still probably got it through, but at that point, we're like a month into this deal already. You know what I'm saying? Showing the house, all kind of different stuff. He got so discouraged, he was like, he just backed out of it, which I couldn't blame him. You know what I'm saying? You go through all that stuff, then they come in the last minute. So I'm just giving you an example of what underwriting is. So back to like I was saying, this pre-approval letter that you get from a bank, they send that out before the writing comes in. You get this pre-approval letter. So the reason why the economy is so inflated with people buying houses is that people are out here with just a pre-approval letter looking for houses. That gives you the authority to go out and get a realtor and have you start for houses. 90% of people that got these pre-approval letters from this bank or lender that sent you this pre-approval letter through email within a half hour of you contacting them, 90% of them are not going to get approved for the loan at the end of the day. This is what they don't tell you. So this is part of the reason why the prices have ran up so much. You got so much competition because now you're in the market competing with 1,000 other people trying to buy the same house who only have pre-approval letters, who aren't going to make it to the end of the process anyway, but they are in the picture right now while you're bidding on this house, which is going to cause you to have to bid way more than what you should be having to pay for this house, a house that's already overpriced anyway. You know what I'm saying? I know it's like kind of a long story, but just follow what I'm saying. This is what I'm telling you is happening. This is why it's not worth buying real estate right now, unless you have a lot of money, unless you're trying to put together an income property. You know what I'm saying? Even buying houses to flip, if you don't get the right house right now to flip, a house that needs a lot of work, a house that has a lot of things that need done to it, even that's not really worth it because even those houses right now are way overpriced because there's nothing else out here to buy. You know what I'm saying? So once you, like I said, if you don't got cash, this is the only way you should be trying to buy a house if you really want to buy a house right now. Try to find somebody who's about to lose their house to taxes, or somebody who's old, somebody that just don't want to keep the house up no more. Anything where a person, you can buy a house to where it doesn't hit the market, because the minute a house hits the market, any house you see that's on the market, you're getting beat. It's a super high, total high risk. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the economy, everything that's going on. Now, on the other hand, especially for an investment, it's definitely not the time to be, you know what I'm saying, buying a house for an investment, because you're not going to see no money out of it. Unless the only way is that you're trying to buy a house that's like a dream house. You want to buy this house, you can afford it, your income is secure, you're solidified with your job or whatever it is. And you don't care about paying whatever you got to pay for this house to live in it, because that's where you want to live and that's where you want to be comfortable. That's kind of makes sense. But you still, if you get a loan for it, too much of a loan, you still run the risk of the economy crashing and your house value going down so much. Now you're going to have a problem with your lender, because now you have collateral on the loan with your house that's not going to cover the cost of the loan they're giving you. So of course they're going to panic, because they're like, damn, because the lender's key weapon in the loan when it comes to buying a house is your house is the collateral for the loan. See, it's a tricky thing that happens when you buy a house, when you get a loan, because yeah, you're buying a house. When you buy this house, you're signing paperwork at a title company to own this house the minute you buy it. So that's one part of it. But at the same exact time that that's happening, you're also signing paperwork for a loan with your house being the collateral for a loan that you're borrowing from another person, from another entity. So that's the tricky thing about it. You never own the house. When you own the house with a loan, it's called fee simple. When you own your house outright and it's paid for, then it's called fee simple absolute. That means you're not making no payments on it. You know what I'm saying? But when you buy this house that's overpriced, that you run the risk of the value going way down for, you're going to be in a lot of trouble in many different ways. This is what happened in 2007, 2008. It was giving out fraudulent loans, people that really couldn't afford the loans. All these hyped up, inflated appraisals, all this BS that was going on, knowing that it was going to crash. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's just pretty much what. In an area like I live in the Lehigh Valley, we're an hour away from New York. Where I'm from is Eastern Pennsylvania. It's the borderline of New Jersey. If you take 78 east straight, get you to New York in 1 hour. This area is in even a worse situation because where we live at, even the people that are from here like me, to see a house that's overpriced by $50,000, we're like, you must be crazy. A lot of people move here from New York and New Jersey to live, and then they still work in New York and New Jersey. And that's like a big get over to a lot of people like that because the taxes in New York and New Jersey are way higher than Pennsylvania. So a lot of them come to Pennsylvania but still work in New York and New Jersey. What they do is people like that come to where I'm at, a house that's way overpriced to people that are from here like me, to them is still a huge deal. The same houses that you get out here for 150, $200,000 of Pennsylvania where I'm at, in New York will cost you like $1 million. Like understand, like at least 3 times more than what it costs right here where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why where I'm at, the economy is way overinflated. The illusion is way worse than a lot of other places because people from New York will move here and think they're still coming up paying, whether it's apartments or houses. You know what I mean? Way more. So that's pretty much it, man. Like, don't buy real estate right now unless you really know what the hell you're doing because you can find yourself in a serious jam. You can definitely buy the wrong house and the wrong property for a fact. Now, is owning property better than not owning property on any day? I would say most likely yes, depending on the situation and circumstances. It's not always going to be better, but don't make the mistake of getting caught up in some hype. If you're able to buy a house right now, buy the right house. Try to find a house that somebody's losing taxes, something like that. They call it wholesaling. People out here doing wholesale and try to find a wholesale deal to buy a house before. You know what I'm saying? So just be careful out here, man, because I see a lot of crazy stuff going on. People buy a house with all these hopes and dreams, not realizing that they just bought a nightmare. But once this economy crashes, which it will do, it could be any day, it's going to be ugly for a lot of people, man. So just keep that in mind, what I told you. And hit the like button, too. How I just dropped all this info and knowledge, real knowledge on you, and got one like. I had two, somebody took a like away. I'm sitting there telling you some knowledge, some real stuff. This is not no conspiracy gossip. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind, man.